Today, I'm trying out a yard's worth of Batman Year 1 head swaps. I'm also announcing the winner of the giveaway. Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation. Just a quick reminder that figures made on the 3 Jokers or Hush Body are incompatible for head swaps. That's because their articulation is at the base of the neck and not the base of the skull. So unfortunately, no swaps with any of these. That said, I can swap with the Cowardly Lot. In general, the Cowardly Lot head is pretty good on the Year 1 body. It does skew a little bit large, and of course it's up to you if you like the idea of Batman always having gritted teeth. That said, this combination looks spectacular and gives me a lot of excitement for the Cowardly Lot head swap video. The Year 1 head is larger, so it really balances out nicely. With that spirit in mind, let's kick things off with some other comic style versions. First up, and here's Detective Comics 1000. As I say every time with this figure, any head is an improvement over the one that comes with it, but this one in particular balances really well, though you will need to do a little bit of repainting. Other way around, and I like this combination much more than I was expecting. Just to let you know, I did need to use a shorter neck peg, but the result is a very Batman the Animated Series feel. Moving on, and here's the original release of the Grim Knight. As much as I disliked this head when it first came out, over time it's really grown on me as a short-eared option. If you like that short-eared look, this one does match very well in terms of scale and color. If you'd like to see the Grim Knight with longer ears though, this does look pretty good, though I will warn you the neck peg is a bit short and you don't really have a whole lot of other options to swap with. For one of my favorite McFarlane Batman heads, and here's Dark Knight's Death Metal, regardless of what the comic design is, I have always preferred this look with longer ears. Just something about that spiky death metal look really lends itself better to it. And while these ears might be a bit short even by short ear standards, it's still a really good head. If you want to adapt the Dark Knight Returns costume into a more standard comic style, I feel like this is the way to go. Next up, and for the figure Year 1 shares a lot of parts with, here we have Rebirth. With so much reuse, this head does fit very nicely on this body, and that larger size helps to balance it out a bit. On the flip side, that smaller Rebirth head helps to bulk this body out, and is one of the rare instances where the Rebirth head works really well for a swap. And then for something a bit more colorful, here we have the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. I will say this head has that cleaner, simpler, almost Silver Age feeling going in its favor, but it's so clean and smooth that it doesn't really fit with the rest of this figure's aesthetic. On the flip side, the Zur-En-Arrh head being a bit rough and dinged up actually works in its favor. Being less polished lends itself to an early Batman, similar to how Michael Keaton's first mask was kind of rough too. For a more realistic option, and here's Batman Noel, for a shorter eared, more grounded option, you really can't go wrong with this. The only thing I would say is that there is a bit of extra detail on the mask, making it slightly busier than the others. Other way around, and if you prefer that longer eared look, this is a very nice way of accomplishing that. I also feel that the face is sufficiently realistic so it doesn't clash stylistically. For the comic book style head that I'm the most curious about though, and here's the black and gray version of Nightfall. Once again, if you prefer a black and gray Batman and prefer Nightfall, this is a very solid combination. This head in particular with this body really gives me strong Batman the Animated Series vibes. That said, and while it might be a matter of personal preference, I might just like this combination better. In general, I just really like the Nightfall head, so this does it for me, but let me know what you think in the comments. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this video so far, do me a favor and give it a like, and if you'd like to support my content so I can make even more of it, link to my Ko-fi in the description below. Of course, Bruce Wayne isn't the only one in the comics to don the cowl. First up, and here's Thomas Wayne from Flashpoint. I'm not all that interested in a head swap, but if you are, here you go. You'd need to paint the eyes, but I do think it works. No, what I wanted to see was an arm swap. You'll probably have to swap the forearms because the gauntlets on Flashpoint are just way too busy, but otherwise these are a perfect match and even have the seam running down the biceps. Next up is Dick Grayson from Grant Morrison's Batman Reborn. From a story perspective, I like Dick Grayson's time as Batman, and I do think McFarlane did a good job on the head, but I do feel it works best as Dick Grayson and not as a stand-in for Bruce. That said, if you like the design of Year 1 but prefer the proportions of Nightfall, this is a great start. Year 1 is a solid head and it sits perfectly on this body. Here we have Commissioner Gordon from Batman Endgame. Just about every head I try out on this body is too big, and that's definitely the case here. That said, I do really like Jim's head on other bodies. It might not be Bruce, but I do like the jaw and the overall shape of the head. Rounding out this section is my favorite non-Bruce Batman head, Tim Fox. As always, this is a great look and really lends itself well to this figure. That all-black mask with the piercing white eyes could be great for a motorcycle helmet or just for a cool, scary look. Conversely, I really do like this costume as inspiration for a possible live-action adaptation, and with some of the extra wrinkle details in the mask, it actually transitions into the neck pretty naturally. Branching out to some other forms of Bat media, however, and here we have some video games. For one of my favorite DC Multiverse Batman figures, and here we have Arkham Knight. The Arkham Knight head is a bit small, so the larger Year 1 head balances out the proportions very well, and with this face reminding me of a live-action Batman the Animated Series lends itself to Kevin Conroy's iconic voice. Other way around, and I don't know that I like it, but it is interesting. I like how realistic the face is, but I do feel like the ears might just be way too long here. Next up is Arkham Knight, but from the Sinestro Corps. A smaller head on a larger body can make that body look bulkier by comparison, but not here. Here he just looks like he had his head shrunk by the Witch Doctor in the Beetlejuice waiting room. Alternately though, I got a comment specifically requesting this combination, and I can totally see why. The ears aren't quite as over the top as with Arkham Knight, and the face in general does feel more comic friendly. Lastly, and for one I want to talk about for a couple of reasons, and here we have Arkham City. Of all the Arkham heads, City is definitely the one that lends itself the best to a comic book swap. The ears are a pretty fair balance, and I just like this jaw, but I'd be a liar if I said that I didn't like the Year 1 head on this body even better. I know a lot of you use Arkham City as your main display Batman, but with this head, I think it's a winner. That said, and based on the similar color, I was hoping to see if the arms would be swappable, and alas, as you can plainly see, they most definitely are not. That said, we can't talk about other forms of Bat media without going to the movies. Before we get into that though, I think I have a winner to announce. Using pickawinner.com to randomize a winner amongst the hundreds of entries, this Year 1 Batman is going to Yurik Zerwinski 7711. Congratulations on your win, and be sure to email me within 7 business days at 5poainquiries@gmail.com to claim your prize. If I don't get an email from you within a week, I'm going to have to pick a different winner. Huge thanks to everyone who entered, and stay tuned because I'm going to be announcing an all-new giveaway probably next week. First up, and we've got to kick things off with Michael Keaton from Batman 1989. One of the nice things about the Flash movie is it gave us a glimpse at some of Michael Keaton's early costumes, so if you wanted to do some customizing with that, this would be probably an okay start. Other way around, and while this isn't accurate to a movie, I still kinda dig it. Not so much the Kenner Dark Knight collection, but this feels more to me like an updated version of the Toy Biz Batman. Next up is the often judged George Clooney from Batman and Robin. As is often the case, I really enjoy this combination because of how realistic it is. You might want to try a smaller peg, but George Clooney has a good generic Batman jaw, so it does feel like if Batman was a real dude. Other way around, and I'm honestly not entirely sure how I feel about this one, but if it sparks your imagination, well, I'm happy to help. And then here we have Christian Bale from The Dark Knight. Unlike Clooney, I don't like the cut of Christian Bale's Bat mask as much, so while it might be realistic, this configuration doesn't do it as much for me. On the other hand, I do feel like this mask does improve on this costume. The more traditional ears and mouth hole just feel more like Batman. That said, for my preferred Christian Bale costume, and here's Batman Begins. The Christian Bale head is the exact same as the other one, so I'm not going to bother with that combo, but I will say that the Batman Begins suit is one of my favorite live-action costumes, so I like this one a lot. Next up, and here's Ben Affleck from Batman v Superman: The Dawn of Justice. If you wanted a realistic head to go with this body, this is your move. Obviously, you can see a bit of Ben in there, but in general, it's just a good, realistic Batman head. That being said, Batfleck is a good generic Batman design, so if you wanted a slightly more textured one, this head looks great. And then here's the tactical armor from Justice League. If you like that movie armor and wanted to give it a comic book flair, this head does a great job of pulling it into that space, and I will say the combination of the head and the neck cuts a pretty nice silhouette. Otherwise, and this combo is great for those who really just want Ben Affleck himself in a simple cloth costume. costume. I say that because, as you can see, the likeness is much stronger here. For a Caped Crusader, I'm starting to wonder if we're ever going to see again, and here's Robert Pattinson from The Batman. Affleck's costume is the most comics accurate, but this one is the most practical for real-life adaptation, and this mask option kicks it up to a whole new level. I've made no bones about the fact that as much as I like The Batman, I really don't like that mask, but in its defense, it is a pretty good design for a Batman that's just starting out. And finally, bringing us full circle, and here's Michael Keaton in The Flash. I might not like the 1989 head, but this one is a lot weaker, so I'm not going to linger on this configuration. That said, I do still really like this costume, and there's just something about this combination that really works for me. What combination was your favorite? Are there any I didn't do that you wish I had? Tell me everything in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss my upcoming Cowardly Lot head swap video. For more Batman while you wait though, and check out one of these, until next time, play nice and have fun.